Prior to commencing the meeting, we have a public hearing. The public hearing is to consider the Planning Commission's recommendation to amend the zoning code of the codified ordinances of the City of Medina, Ohio, Section 1109.02E2, pertaining to performance bonds. Mr. Hannon, can you give a little background on this before we entertain any comment?
Yes. Planning Commission and city staff between engineering, building, planning, and economic development have been looking at this ordinance for several months, and actually it's come up in discussions for the last several years. The city currently requires a performance bond before a private project is issued to cover the landscaping, the stormwater management, and hard surface installations. The reason being is that for any reason, if a project was not able to be completed or some financial issues occurred or a developer had to leave in the middle of a project, the city would be able to go in and stabilize that site. What we've been finding, though, is that what the city would typically do if it was needed to stabilize the site would be to do some base grading, stormwater management work. We wouldn't pave a parking lot, for example. We wouldn't do a full landscaping design. We would just do base work to stabilize the property. So we found that requiring a 100% bond of those improvements was more than was required, and it was a hardship on many of the business owners to obtain that bond right before a permit's issued. So working with engineering, we looked at 4 or 5 case study projects to find out if the project were abandoned at the worst possible time, how much would we actually spend on that site to stabilize it. And we looked at 4 or 5 different sites, came up with different percentages, and what came out as the baseline was if we only required 25% bonding, that would be enough that it would cover the city's interest in case a developer was to leave the project. And also it does provide some incentive if there's a few minor outstanding items at the end of the project, that is some incentive for the owner or developer to finalize those last punch list items, because then we can release the bond. So we have worked through the various departments and gone through a couple meeting discussion with Planning Commission. So what's before council tonight is a change in the ordinance to go from 100% bonding of the full site improvements down to a 25% bonding of the project.
Thank you. And I'll open it up to public comment. Is there anybody that wishes to speak in favor of the zoning code modification? Sir, if you could approach the microphone, state your name.
I'm Larry Johns. I'm the owner of McJack Candy Company here in Medina. And I want to say I appreciate the council and the city being willing to put this item on the agenda. It's something near and dear to our hearts, and it's something we've been lobbying for maybe the last 1 or 2 projects that we've done. Just to give you like a real-life scenario or example of how this impacts us currently and how it will be benefit to companies like myself and others that want to move to Medina or grow in Medina in the future. On our most recent project, we're doing about a $1.2 million expansion. Currently, the banks aren't financing 80% like they did at one time, maybe more like 60, 70%. So for a project like ours, to do a $1.2 million building, we have to come up with $400,000 cash of our own, and then on top of that, another $150,000 for the performance bond. So to start the project, we need $550,000 in cash before we can even start to dip into the bank loan. So being able to reduce the amount of this bond will have a positive impact on ourselves and other companies like us.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there anybody else who would like to speak in favor of the zoning code modification? Deborah?
Good evening. Deborah Lynn Schmitz, Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce, 145 North Court, Medina here. I just wanted to congratulate Planning Department, Economic Development, and the mayor for recognizing that this type of performance bond that we had could possibly get in the way of expansions or for our own businesses here in Medina. So I really want to congratulate them for being there so responsive, so quickly finding a resolution to this, and of course encourage council to pass it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else that would like to speak in favor? Bethany?
Good evening. I'm Bethany Dentler with the Executive Director of the Medina County Economic Development Corporation. I serve on the city's Economic Development Advisory Board, where we've been talking about this for the past couple of months. And if you've attended the meetings or have read the minutes, you'll see that our development community has been quite vocal in their support of this kind of change. So I'm just here to urge your support to modify the ordinance. I think it's a common sense way to for the city of Medina to become more competitive for business attraction opportunities, as well as to retain and help our existing businesses to expand. I think it's a lot easier to keep your existing business base happy and content to choose to stay here and expand here than to spend what could be significant resources to try to attract new businesses who really have a wide choice of cities to locate in. It's a very competitive atmosphere out there, and anything that the city can do to make itself stand out from the competition is something that I think you should strongly consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else that would like to speak in favor of the zoning code modification?
Mr. President?
Yes, Mr. Rose.
As Council's representative on the Planning Commission, I'd like to bring out a couple of points that helped move us to bring this to Council. First of all, in the time that Rick Rice was working as Planning Director, and the time that Pat Patton has been on as an engineer, and Mr. Hannon on the Planning Committee, no bond has ever been collected on. Everybody has, up to this point here, performed as expected. So we've just been holding money that we didn't need to. And secondly, the research in the cities of our size, no one collects 100% of the performance bond. There's always some percentage in the 25 to 30% bracket. So those are the criteria we used.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else like to speak in favor of the zoning modification? Okay, hearing none. Anybody like to speak against the zoning modification? Hearing none, the public hearing is closed. I appreciate everybody for their comments with respect to the zoning code modification on the performance bonds. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Colasar.
Here.
Lamb.
Here.
Rose.
Here.
Shields.
Here.
Simpson.
Here.
Verdell.
Here.
Coin.
Here. A reading of the minutes?
I move that the minutes of the meeting of January 9th, 2012, as submitted by the clerk, be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Lamb.
Here.
Rose.
Here.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Verdell.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Reports from standing committees. The Finance Committee met earlier. We had a lengthy meeting today. We're still not complete. We'll finish that up after this meeting. The Health, Safety, and Sanitation Committee, Mr. Rose.
Thank you, Mr. President. Nothing to report at this time.
Public Properties, Mr. Shields.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
Special Legislation, Andrew Bedell-Ware.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
Streets and Sidewalks, Mr. Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. President. No report this evening.
Water and Utilities, Mr. Colzar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just one real quick item. At our last meeting on the 9th, Council appointed 2 new representatives to the Utility Rate Review Commission, and I'm hoping that there'll be some upcoming meetings here to settle in the new appointees, and then we can get moving a little quicker on trying to get a recommendation from them in reference to the water rates that we've been discussing for some time. So hopefully here in the near future we could get a recommendation from them, and Council can move forward on the water rate adjustments we've been talking about. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Colzar. The request for council action for the Finance Committee. We have addendum to 1192, which is electric aggregation funds for the ED initiatives. 1211, Police Department reorganization, amend 3105 of the Salaries and Benefits Code. 1212, Police Department reorganization, amending 3104G of the Salaries and Benefits Code. 1213, the purchase of an SUV vehicle for the Police Department. 1214, Medina County SPCA Animal Welfare Services for 2012. 1215, budget amendments. 1216, Muni Court part-time custodian, amending Salaries and Benefits Code, accept the job description. 1217, revised basic gov contract, Community Development Department. 1218, final payment for job 876, Service Garage Edition. 1219, ODOT urban paving, State Route 18 and 57. And 1220, bids water and sewer installation at the Medina Municipal Airport. Reports from municipal officers. Mayor Hanwell.
Thank you, Mr. President. This past Saturday, a number of the council members and I attended the 13th Annual Commissioners Ball on Saturday, January 21st. I mention this because the annual event has raised over $250,000 for local charities here in the greater Medina region. I'd like to congratulate the commissioners on providing this funding to support the local charities and the constituents that they serve. Main Street Medina and the Medina Chamber of Commerce, Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce, are both sponsoring what they're calling a Medina Cash Mob. This event is to encourage supporting local businesses by spending $20 in a Medina business. The event is Saturday, February 11th, just in time for Valentine's Day shopping. They're asking participants that are willing to post where and what they purchased on Main Street Medina Facebook or on Twitter with hashtag number 20 in Medina. The annual Ice Festival is coming next month, February 17th, 18th, and 19th at the Public Square. Information in the event schedule is located at the Main Street Medina website, www.mainstreetmedina.com. And then Big Day of Serving is a new event for the city. On April 21st, 2012, some local church leaders in Medina are hosting what's called a Big Day of Serving. This is an event that's done nationwide to promote community service and service in the community. And Medina is one of the locations that's been chosen nationally to bring volunteers. So this day, volunteers will come from various locations in the country to take part in community service activities, including park cleanups, minor home repairs, exterior painting, yard work, etc. for the elderly, disabled, or those unable to do so, as well as in some of our city parks. We're gathering a list of items to be done. If anybody is interested in having work performed, you can contact my office, Dawn Conwell, at 722-9020, or her email is dconwell@medinaoh.org. And also, if you're interested in serving, rather than have a service done, then you can go to the Big Day of Serving website, which is www.bigdayofserving.com. I will share with council that we also, at the recommendation of the Planning Committee, Councilman Colasar has been helping with that, Tim Swanson with the local pastors and I. But we thought it would be a good idea to reach out to our seniors that we're doing the senior snow plowing, that if they're having trouble with that, they may also be having trouble with their yard work and upkeep of the house and so forth. So we sent out a letter of interest requesting any items they may have with kind of a check-off form. There's also a check-off form on the city website for others that are interested. And now if I can switch hats and give Patrick Patton's report, because he's not here.
That's great. The city engineer?
Yes, sir. Project 872C, which is Medina Traffic Signal Improvement Railroad Preemption Interconnect. The city will be receiving bids for this project next Wednesday, January 25th. That's this Wednesday. This project will install equipment necessary to allow the city's traffic signal to communicate with the railroad's traffic control system at 3 locations where rail crossings are very close to the city intersections. When completed, the railroad system will notify the city's traffic light signal system when a train is approaching, thus allowing the city's signal system to go into a preempt operation to clear the intersections and rail crossings of all traffic before the gates start to close. The signal at Huntington and Smith, which we've all been eagerly awaiting, and has been on flash, will be put into operation as soon as this project is complete, and that's projected to be by late March of this year. Project number 765 is East Smith Lancaster Smoke Rise Water Main. This project is currently out for bids. Bids are due February 8th. This will install a water main in the city's southeast quadrant. The project has been part of the city's master plan for decades. The expected improvements from this project include reducing flow restrictions and pressure losses, providing necessary improvements to the system's reinforcement grid, thus improving reliability and redundancy, and resolving poor fire flow problems in this region. This project is expected to be completed this summer. And lastly, the historic district traffic signalization timing changes. The traffic lights in the historic district were adjusted last week and to new patterns. What they did, just for review, what they did is they did a study of all the downtown traffic areas. They took that data and put it into a computer module to kind of see how it would work to lengthen this light, put less time on that light to see how it would work. Now they're actually doing it physically out in the community. What we're asking is residents and businesses that use the downtown historic district, if you still see problem areas or have suggestions for improvements, to please call the city engineer's office at 722-9034 or email city engineer Pat Patton at Patton, P-A-T-T-O-N, and medinaoh.org, because that's part of it. They'll go out and watch them. They'll try to monitor how they're working during different times of the day, but if other people notice, during the mornings, during school times, during rush hours, there are other problems. We need all that data to try to get them as tweaked as best we can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Finance Director, Mr. Durham.
Thank you, Mr. President. There's a couple things on the agenda later that I will address when we get to them if you have questions on those. But I do have a reminder for all city residents that all residents are required to file a city income tax return. We have 4 opportunities that we've coordinated with CCA to get free assistance for our residents with the forms. Those will all be at the Rec Center, and I'd like to thank the Rec Center for hosting this for us. Those times and dates are Saturday, March 3rd from 9 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. Tuesday, March 13th, also from 9 to 4. Wednesday, April 4th, from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. And then finally, Saturday, April 14th, from 9 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. It's the last Saturday before they're due, so that's the one. If you're not there, you better have them done by then. You can get the forms here at City Hall. You can also print them from the CCA website at ccatax.ci.cleveland.oh.us. We're going to mail out a notice on this with the water bills here in about a week, and for the next council meeting, I'll have that information to the cable department so it'll run on the screen, but we were just finalizing this before this meeting, so it's not on this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Law Director, Mr. Huber.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report.
Thank you. Police Chief Baraducci.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report tonight.
Thank you. The Economic Development Director, Ms. Rice.
Thank you, Mr. President. As a result of the microenterprise grant the City of Medina received from the Ohio Department of Development in 2010, the city will roll out a second round of the Small Business and Entrepreneur Basics Training Program at the Medina County University Center. The classes will be held Wednesday nights from 5:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. beginning January 25th for 9 weeks. The vision of the City of Medina Small Business and Entrepreneur Basics Program is to aid the new or current entrepreneur in starting, growing, and maintaining a profitable business and to become a success story. Cost to attend the 9-week course is $199. Registration is available at the Medina County University Center by phone, fax, mail, in person, or email. Space is still available. And I would again like to personally thank the partners, the University of Akron, Medina County University Center, SCORE, the Small Business Development Center, Kent State University's Business Succession Planning Program, the Growth Coach, Walker and Jock Patton Attorneys, Shared Time Human Resource Management, the Medina County Economic Development Corporation, and the Medina Chamber of Commerce for all their help and continued support of the program. And the next item is the city has selected Nick Arbel for the Economic Development part-time intern. Nick is conducting research, collecting data of vacant properties and buildings in the industrial, commercial, and retail districts. He's also preparing an inventory list and database with pertinent information for marketing the properties on our website. Nick did start work with the department on January 11th, and he's doing a good job so far. Thank you.
Thank you. Planning and Community Development Director, Mr. Hannon.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to note for council and the public that on February 9th for our Historic Preservation Board, Board of Zoning Appeals, and Planning Commission, we will begin introductions to the updated zoning code, which staff and the boards have been working on for the past 8 to 10 months. And additionally, there will be a special joint session between council and Planning Commission on February 21st at 5:30 p.m. for several topics, but focusing on that zoning code update. Thank you.
Thank you. Recreation Center Director, Mr. Wright.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Medina Rec Frosty 5K Run and Walk is on Sunday, February 12th with a start time of 9 a.m. The cost is $15 for members and $20 for non-members. And if you register before February 1st, you'll get a free race T-shirt. Check-in starts at 8:15 a.m., and prizes will be awarded to winners in each age group. Our next scheduled advisory board meeting is Thursday, February 16th at 7:30 a.m. at the Rec Center. Just a recap of a program we have had at the MCRC for over 2 years now called Silver Sneakers. This program has allowed over 900 eligible seniors in the county free memberships to our facility and provides 3 different types of classes, which are also free to seniors. Last October, the MCRC started the newest of these classes called the Silver Splash class, which are performed in the pool with a kickboard. The other 2 are the Muscular and Strength Range of Motion class, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and the Yoga Stretch class on Tuesday, Thursdays. The numbers for these programs grow daily. If you'd like to see videos for this program, they are now available on YouTube by going to www.youtube.com/City of Medina, one word. And to verify eligibility for the program, you can call the Rec Center at 330-721-6901, where our friendly front desk staff would be glad to assist you. Thank you.
Thank you. Fire Chief, Chief Painter.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have no report tonight.
Thank you. Building Official, Mr. Vogel.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's come to our attention in the building department that in some rare cases, contractors are giving our homeowners false information about when a permit is required for the work that they do on a home. Tonight, I would like to briefly go over a few of the less obvious kinds of work that require permits from the city building department and what we do to earn the permit fee. A permit is required for basement waterproofing. We will inspect the work and verify that all code requirements are met in your search for a drier basement. A permit is needed to re-energize electric services that have been abandoned for more than 6 months. Codes are updated regularly, and we will inspect to make sure that the latest innovations regarding safety are incorporated into the electric service installation. A permit is a necessity when a building is being demolished. Through our experience, we have found that a myriad of agencies must be contacted before a demolition can properly take place. We will assist and guide you through this sometimes confusing process. Our permit is a good idea for fire and water damage restorations. We feel it is important to be involved in this rebuilding process, especially in the case of a fire, so that safeguards can be put in place to prevent a recurrence of a damaging fire in the future. A permit is required for a re-roof. Through our experience, we have proven that the requirement for a re-roof permit is the best insurance for getting a good professional job done. These are just some of the types of work that require permits. Please contact your city building department if you have any questions regarding other types of work that may require permits. Thank you.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation Director, Mr. Swanson.
Thank you, Mr. President. This past Saturday on January 21st, the Parks Department held the all sports sign up for youth sports at the Summa Healthcare Hospital on Route 18. All the youth sports associations were represented, and we had a good turnout with parents and kids. If parents are still interested in signing up their kids, there's still plenty of time. I would direct parents to the parks website, and there our web links will direct you to the youth association's sign up. Thank you.
Thank you. Service Director, Mr. Piccoli.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm happy to report this evening about the lack of winter we've been experiencing. To date, the street department has spread approximately 1,200 tons of salt, and that equates to about $55,908. In comparison, that is 3 times less than applied in the previous winters at this point, halfway through. Such a break has been long overdue. Each time the crews do not go out, we save approximately $9,318 in salt alone. This number represents minimal salt application. This does not include labor, fuel, maintenance breakdowns. Realizing winter's not over, we are bound for some storms, so going forward, we ask the residents do not push or blow snow from their driveways into the streets, as this can cause accidents, as well as the snow ends up in their driveway anyway. The senior snow plowing program is going very well. I'd like to acknowledge Forester Jansen Worley and Engineering Inspector Bill Davis for their efforts in this program. We are proud to serve the seniors in our city with this service. Thank you.
Thank you. Notices, communications, and petitions. We have 2 this evening. A mayoral appointment to the Micro Enterprises Board, Tom Kruger, for the business representative for a term expiring 12/31/14.
Move to approve the mayor's appointment for Tom Kruger.
Second.
Any further discussion? The clerk, please call the roll.
Rose?
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Brunel Ware.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
The next one is the confirmation of council's appointments. We have the Income Tax Review Board, Keith Hughes, for a term expiring 12/31/12.
Move to approve the council's confirmation.
Second.
Keith Hughes.
Second.
Any discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Brunel Ware.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Unfinished business, we have none. Introduction of visitors. Members of the public will be permitted the opportunity to speak on any issue or concern which pertains to the city during a portion of the council agenda devoted to introduction of visitors. All comments shall be directed to the chair, and a reasonable time limit of approximately 5 minutes will be imposed. If there is a group, please appoint a spokesperson. Speakers should approach the front right microphone and state their name and address so it can be entered into the minutes. Members of the public will be afforded the opportunity to comment on other portions of the meeting as determined by the chair or by a vote of the majority of council members present. Is there anybody that wishes to address council? Introduction and consideration of ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance 8-12, an ordinance amending section 110902 E2 of the zoning code of the codified ordinances of the city of Medina, Ohio, relative to compliance with the site plan performance bond.
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion? This is the item we had the public hearing earlier, and we had favorable comments to it. I think it's a good idea that we move forward with this to encourage additional development. Performance bonds are an issue, but we do have zoning ordinances in place, which if there's violations of any of the code regulations with respect to a specific property, the zoning department will, of course, enforce the code, and there can be repercussions associated with that. Is there any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Simpson.
Yes.
Brunel Ware.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Ordinance 8-12 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 9-12, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a memorandum of understanding with the Medina County Board of Commissioners to provide fixed route public transportation services within the city of Medina for a period of January 1st, 2012 through December 31st, 2012.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. This is to provide the transit in the city of Medina for those that need to use it. I also serve on the, well, first of all, it's 17,500 total. 12,600 of that is CDBG or grant dollars that are set aside specifically for that, and the other $4,900 is being requested from the general fund. I serve on the commission that oversees the transit, representing the city for the county, and I can tell you there's a number of people that go to kidney dialysis, handicapped folks that go to the Achievement Center, persons that get to and from their doctor's appointments that otherwise couldn't without this transit. It's very important for our citizens to have this type of transportation available to them. I'd encourage your passing of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Brunel Ware.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Ordinance 9-12 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 10-12, an ordinance amending ordinance number 91-9, passed June 8th, 2009, relative to the State of Ohio Rail Development Commission for renovation, repair, and maintenance of a city-owned railway.
Move to approve.
Second.
The emergency clause has been requested.
Move to add the emergency clause.
Second emergency clause.
Is there any discussion to add an emergency clause? Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President. On behalf of Engineer Patrick Patton, the Ohio Rail Development Commission has asked the city to modify our existing agreement with them to extend the completion date for the city's railroad improvement project to June 30th, 2012. This is the city's federal stimulus project. Please understand this $950,000 project was completed in December. Completion was on time in accordance with the original schedule. However, the ORDC has requested this extension in order to give both the city and the ORDC sufficient time to complete the project closeout. The emergency clause is requested because the current agreement lapsed on December 31st, 2011, and the ORDC requests the city's execution of this agreement as soon as possible.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the emergency clause? Will the clerk please call the roll on the emergency clause?
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Bordeaux Ware.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Are there any further discussion on the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll on the ordinance?
Coin.
Yes.
Coin. Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Bordeaux Ware.
Yes.
Ordinance 10-12 passes 7-0.
Thank you. Ordinance 11-12, an ordinance amending ordinance number 152-11, passed October 24th, 2011, relative to requesting the Board of Elections to redistrict ward boundaries within the city of Medina.
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Shields.
The emergency clause has been requested, and I move to add that at this time.
Second with emergency clause.
Is there any discussion on the emergency clause? Mayor?
Yes, sir. Again, on behalf of City Engineer Patton, as required by state law in late 2011, the city modified its ward map to accurately reflect changes in population between the years 2000 and 2010. Recently, the Medina County Board of Elections notified the city that due to the CETA agreements with Lafayette and York Townships entered into in the 2000s, the residents in those CETA areas are considered to have dual citizenship and thus are permitted to vote in both township and city elections. Because of this, the city's ward map has to be modified to include these two areas within the abutting city wards. Please note both areas will be part of Ward 1. The emergency clause is requested because the Board of Elections must finalize all voting district changes as soon as possible in advance of the upcoming primary elections.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there any further discussion on the emergency clause? Will the clerk please call the roll on the emergency clause?
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Bordeaux Ware.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Any discussion on the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll on the ordinance?
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Bordeaux Ware.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Ordinance 11-12 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 12-12, an ordinance amending Section 3107 of the Salaries and Benefits Code of the City of Medina, Ohio, by accepting the modifications to the job description for the position of the count clerk.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields?
the emergency clause has been requested, and I move to add it at this time.
Second with emergency clause.
Is there any discussion on the emergency clause? Mr. Durham?
Thank you, Mr. President. This request came from Finance. The Civil Service Commission looked it over and approved it. It's going to improve the flow of the work in our office a little bit, give us a little bit better coverage on backups. We have a pending retirement, the timing of which is not exactly certain at this time, but we want to be prepared for that and have a test and have a group ready and available for when that retirement happens.
And that's the reason for the emergency clause.
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion on the emergency clause? Will the clerk please call the roll on the emergency clause?
Simpson.
Yes.
Bordeaux Ware.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Any further discussion on the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll on the ordinance?
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Bordeaux Ware.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Ordinance 12-12 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 13-12, an ordinance adopting and accepting the modifications to several job descriptions as approved and presented by the Civil Service Commission.
Move to approve.
Second.
Is discussion, Mr. Hannon? Is this? Believe this is your department.
I'll take this, sir.
Is it? Oh, okay. Mayor, Mr. Hannon. Sorry.
This is just some minor changes to the communications operator, senior construction inspector, and construction inspector job descriptions, and it's basically just clarifying the job duties in line with what the duties actually are. The job actually is.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion on the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Bordeaux Ware.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Ordinance 13-12 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 14-12, an ordinance amending Section 3105 of the Salaries and Benefits Code of the City of Medina, Ohio, relative to the Community Development Department.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields?
the emergency clause has been requested, and I move that we add it at this time.
Second with the emergency clause.
A discussion on emergency clause and ordinance. Now, Mr. Hannan.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd be glad to talk to this one. This is a final step in the reorganization of the Community Development Department. This actually abolishes the property maintenance / building inspector. Those duties have been revised, and we now have the classifications of a building and zoning inspector and a separate employee as a property maintenance inspector. And I apologize, I didn't catch this clarification, but I'm not aware of the emergency clause being needed. Thank you.
Well, thank you. I guess the emergency clause is not needed, so I guess we still have to go ahead and vote on it, but I guess we don't have to vote for it. So will the clerk please call the roll on emergency clause?
Colasar.
No.
Lamb.
Boy, that feels good.
No.
Rose.
No.
Shields.
No.
Simpson.
No.
Bordeaux Ware. No. Coin.
No.
Motion fails.
The clerk please call the roll on the ordinance.
Coin.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Bordeaux Ware.
Yes.
Ordinance 14-12 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 15-12, an ordinance authorizing an appraisal for the Champion Creek Multipurpose Trail.
Move to approve.
Second.
Mr. Shields?
The emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it at this time.
Second with the emergency clause.
Any discussion? I believe the mayor, is this, you're taking this one?
Yes, sir. Sorry. Again, on behalf of Engineer Patrick Patton, this is the Champion Creek Multi-Purpose Trail appraisals. In order to construct the Champion Creek Multi-Purpose Trail, the city needs to acquire several easements from private property owners. Because this project is primarily funded through state grants, the city is required to follow state regulations for property acquisitions. One component of this process is engaging a state pre-qualified acquisition specialist to complete appraisals for each easement necessary. This ordinance asks for council's acceptance of those easements. Once council accepts these easements, the right-of-way specialist will commence negotiations with each of the property owners. Please note the appraisals included within this ordinance represent 4 of the 5 properties necessary for this project. The appraisal for the 5th property will be submitted in a future request. And the emergency clause is requested because we would like to commence negotiations right away so that construction can begin in these areas in time to meet the project deadlines.
Thank you, Mayor. Any further discussion on the emergency clause? Will the clerk please call the roll on the emergency clause?
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Bordeaux Ware.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Any further discussion on the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll on the ordinance?
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Bordeaux Ware.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Ordinance 15-12 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 16-12, an ordinance amending ordinance number 172-11 passed December 12th, 2011. Amendments to the 2012 budget.
Move to approve.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Mr. Durham?
Thank you, Mr. President. The first one is a refund, and the rest of them are all proceeds from the auction that need to be appropriated in order for those departments to spend that money.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Will the clerk please call the roll on the ordinance?
Shields.
Yes.
Simpson.
Yes.
Bordeaux Ware.
Yes.
Coin.
Yes.
Colasar.
Yes.
Lamb.
Yes.
Rose.
Yes.
Ordinance 16-12 passes 7-0.
Ordinance 17-12, an ordinance ratifying the agreement between the City of Medina and the International Brotherhood of Teamsters, Local 436.
Mr. President,
Mr. Shields?
emergency clause has been requested. I move to add it at this time.
A second with the emergency clause.
Can we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Is there a discussion on the emergency clause in the ordinance? Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. President Coyne. This is a 3-year contract with the Teamsters, which is our service employees and union employees other than the police department. The Teamsters agreed to go with the fact finders report that was done for the police department, which will be raises albeit 1 year later. So 2012 this year, it'll be a 1.5% raise, 2% next year, 2013, and then 2.5% 2014. In exchange for those raises, they also agreed to the insurance plan design modifications identical to what were in the police contracts, which were increased deductibles, office visits, and some copays. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. The emergency clause. Yes. The emergency clause is necessary so that we don't prolong having to do the back pay. Would like to get it instituted as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any further discussion on the emergency clause? Will the clerk please call the roll on the emergency clause?
Verdell Ware?
Yes.
Coin?
Yes.
Colasar?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Shields?
Yes.
Simpson?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Any further discussion on the ordinance? Will the clerk please call the roll?
Simpson?
Yes.
Verdell Ware?
Yes.
Coin?
Yes.
Colasar?
Yes.
Lamb?
Yes.
Rose?
Yes.
Shields?
Yes.
Ordinance 17-12 passes 7-0.
Council comments?
I have a couple.
Mr. Lamb?
A couple things I wanted to bring to your attention, and one is that just this past Saturday, there was an HIV AIDS program that was held at the Second Baptist Church, and I'd like to thank Stephanie Morris and Reverend Carter who put that program on. It was educational, it was informative, and it really was one of those small programs that sometimes, we don't know a lot about. We don't know it's going to be there, but it was pretty well attended, and I thought it was a good community. It was a good community program. And the other comment that I have is this: the street department does a terrific job with snow plowing, and should be commended. Their efforts are always successful, and a lot of residents do a great job shoveling snow. But I've noticed as I've been through town that there are residents who don't shovel their sidewalk. There are a lot of residents that don't shovel their sidewalk. And when you think about kids going to school, seniors, or just people that are dog walkers like I am, it often forces you to walk out in the street. And I think part of community values are doing those little things like shoveling your sidewalk so that you make it more convenient for any pedestrian that needs to walk down the street. Not just people in residences, but businesses also. So thank you to the people who have shoveled in front of their house. Thanks to the businesses that do that. But I really think the folks that aren't ought to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council comments? Hearing none, the meeting's adjourned.
Executive session.
After finance.